And we are live. So yeah, I'm not literally not gonna introduce you or anything.
Okay. Yeah.
For now, so we'll just get chatting as best we can. But yeah, so Harris. Anyone else? Anyone you can put me onto?
I listened to. There's a couple of political ones. So there's the Global Politico, and it's run by a kind of a think tank. They have a few different podcasts, kind of a political think tank, Washington. And she's a really good interview. She really knows her stuff. Trust. Not gonna go there.
Sorry, what's it called again?
The Global Politico. Really, like, just different people, like different kind of. It's all about kind of democracy and international democracy, and like. It's really interesting because there's a lot of people, say, who would have been in, say, former administrations like the Clinton administration or the Bush administration, say, in their State Department, so Foreign Affairs, and all these people talking about, you know, how it was kind of like it was now in the age of Trump, all that has just been kind of washed away. But there's this whole art to democracy and diplomacy and international affairs and international relations and stuff. So it's all kind of about that. It's actually really interesting. So different kind of heads of state and stuff like that. What else? There'll be podcasts, a couple of film podcasts, like for script writers, and I'm starting my own podcast about the Irish film industry, inspired by yourself, just going and doing it. Kind of gave me the that's because I've kind of been thinking about it, and say a lot of the American, you would probably find this as well, I'd say so much of what we listen to is American, or even to a lesser extent English. Very little is Irish and has the context important to us. So, for example, with the script writing podcast, they're they're all very American, very Hollywood. So, like, they'd have a Q&A at the start, and it'd be like, do you think I should get an agent or a manager?
Yeah.
It's like just a million miles from the reality of any Irish writer, like,
and probably the reality over there
for most, probably. Yeah, it is a kind of it'd be an aspect. I guess some of the Americans are so aspirational that they won't know, even writers starting out wouldn't feel like it's irrelevant to them or whatever. But so me and another guy who runs I think a group basically called the Film Network Ireland, we're doing it together, and it's a kind of a sneaky way of actually being able to, as you said, like, just being able to go and have these conversations that I wouldn't be able to have. So we've reached out to a couple of kind of directors, producers, filmmakers. So it is gonna be a double-edged sword in that I just want to have I want to hear these conversations to start with, and learn from them, and that's kind of part of where the idea came from, and then I'm kind of, you know, we're putting ourselves out there, me and Paul, and we're going to, like, you know, I think because nobody else is doing it, I think it will help boost our profile as well. So it'll be just very positive all around. And a few months ago, I used to do radio on Flirt FM, which is the student radio in Galway, and I got into just kind of because I always had this kind of weird encyclopedic knowledge of music that, like, just, well, nothing special. Seem to be able to retain a lot of information about music. I'm a total music nerd, so I'll be able to tell you all about different. I'd know like kind of the stories behind a lot of like genres and stuff like that. So I started back in college, started doing a show. It was called Webby's Musical Musings.
Very good.
And I would just each show would be an hour long, and I'd just come up with a theme. So, for example, just like grunge. So, telling the story of grunge, what came before it, what inspired it, the early acts, like going into then Nirvana, and when it exploded, and Pearl Jam. And each stage you play a song, as you're going through. So I would have done the same with, say, punk music or like African music. So every show would have been completely different. But I researched it a lot and put a good bit of work into it, and they're all up there now. But I kind of missed that, and it kind of made me learn new music and find out more about music. So I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to do it on my own. So I had a couple of other guys who really know their music, and we came up with a format to do a podcast where basically same idea, where we take a theme. So what was the one we did the last day? Shout out to my ex, and it was all songs that were kind of breakup songs, but like kind of defiant, like fuck you to my ex or whatever, that kind of thing. So, or like the one before that, songs that you didn't know were covers, and we play the original, and then we'll chat about it. And it's kind of, we're all making the case for our song, or a reggae show where it's not really competitive, but like, say, we're all trying to pick a song with a good story, we play it, have a chat about it, play the next one. So it's only about half an hour per episode. It's called Radio Blah Blah.
Good.
So,
Great name.
Yeah, it took us a while to come up with it. It's real hard to come up with good catchy names. But so it's kind of like, probably a bit like yourself. If you're into something, I found anything I've kind of gotten into, I kind of usually want to give it a go. Yeah. And that's kind of what I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Would you be obsessive like that?
No, it's not obsessive. I think I've just, like, I'd be a doer. Like, if I kind of put my mind to something, it kind of comes natural to me. And people will always say, oh, jeez, you do this and you do that. And when I kind of hear people saying that back to me, or kind of seeing it on paper, yeah, I suppose I do a bit, but it doesn't, none of this really feels like work, or, it's not a strain. Like, everything is fun. Like the music podcast, it's a laugh. Like, but other things kind of generate out of that, and kind of a new idea to basically take that concept and turn it into like a night. Like, there's a big thing in Dublin called Story Slam, and it's on once a month in the Sugar Club. And what they do is they have a theme for the night. So, say, romance, or romance is dead, or something like that, or food or something. And it's always packed. It's always really busy. It's kind of been going a few years. And what people do is then you have to get up and you tell a story, 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, and it has to be a true story based on that theme. So people get up and they tell their story, and then the crowd kind of judges it, so gives scores. Yeah. And then there's a winner at the end. It's brilliant crack. And the stories that people come out with are often brilliant. So you get good nights and bad nights. But kind of had the idea of doing kind of a night, kind of a musical version of that. So like the podcast where we pick a theme, but instead of just the three of us, it's kind of put out to the crowd, and each person will come up. So the theme, I was thinking of a theme, like, I usually try and come up with like a lyric. Like, there's a great lyric it's used in a lot of reggae songs. It's like, give me a little bass, let me wind up my waist. So I'm thinking about that as the first one. Or another one was like, Smells Like Teen Spirit. So the first one would be about like songs that make you move. So it could be like, about raving when you were a kid, or like, so you come up and you tell the story associated with the song, and then we play the song, and then the next person comes up, tell the story, play the song.
And you play the song and people kind of sit around and listen, or get up and dance, or both?
Whatever they want, yeah.
Well, what type of venue are you, like, are you looking at, like the Solstice, or the Central, or...
This would be Dublin. This would be Dublin now.
But,
so.
No,
yeah,
but take that, give the Dublin version. Is it like an amphitheatre, or a pub, or...
So the Sugar Club is a bit of a mix between the two. It used to be a cinema, so it's kind of tiered, and there's all seats, but you can also kind of dance.
Right.
There's a big kind of area at the front. It's a class venue. So I don't know. Like, that's sometimes like I get these ideas and like it's a total distraction from
what you should be doing.
from what I should be doing. It's not going to do anything for my career, so I might not do it. I just kind of got that yesterday, but that's kind of how my brain would work. Like,
and is that a live podcast? Essentially?
Yeah, I'm still working it out, and I haven't brought it to the other lads, but it just seemed like I was thinking, oh, maybe we should do a launch for the podcast. And then had the idea. We actually used to do it. I used to live in this really cool house in Galway. It was kind of a hippie house. It was a co-op, and it was a big house out near Salthill. And there was about 6 of us in it, and there was like an actual ethos to the house. It was an American lady who kind of, my friend Kerry Ellen. She kind of set it up. She had lived in co-ops, kind of a big thing in America.
Yeah, I stayed in one over in Texas, in what you call it,
with your brother, was it?
Yeah.
Was he living in one?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
cool.
was indeed. Yeah, it was like a 5-story building, and there was 100 odd students there, and they ran the kitchen, and they took care of like the the bins and whatever else, and the cleaning in the place, and they had schedules and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Class, really cool concept. Like.
Yeah. How did he find it? Did he like it?
Loved it. Yeah, it was in Austin, and Austin would be you know what Austin's like. Its reputation precedes it. Like
Yeah. So ours was like a very small version of that, but it worked. Like, it was great because everybody had to cook once, and there were 6 of us, so pretty much every day someone would cook, and that meant you only actually had to cook 1 day of the week.
Yeah.
And then same, you shop and do the cleaning every 6 weeks.
And it's very hard to both shop and cook for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I struggle here. We have to do 2 shoppings a week.
Really?
Yeah, 2 small shops, because you do a big shop. Like, we did it for years. Like, you end up chucking out full uncooked chickens and stuff like that. Like, and it's sickening. Like,
I've been on my own for so. Microwave meal for one.
just one fork. Yeah, thanks.
No, I eat fairly well. My brother Tony always says that people on their own tend to look after themselves better. I don't know.
Tend to look after themselves better.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because they have to. Which is very sad. Which I was telling a friend of mine. He was taking, I think, kidney medication,
right?
And unknowns to him, it was having an effect on his sodium level, and he ended up having like a fit in the middle of the night.
Fuck.
And only that his girlfriend was there and woke up. She called the ambulance, and he was in hospital within 20 minutes. But time is what did they say? Time is brain matter or something. So it's a big deal. Like, it kind
depending
of freaks
on what
you
it is,
out.
like for a stroke or something. Like, what's that analogy? Is it fast or something?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, but you get the concept.
Yeah.
Like.
But I digress there. But so in the house we also did really cool things. Like, we had an art festival in the house.
Savage.
And we'd have different
Big pack
nights.
of nerds.
Such a pack of nerds, but like kind of like-minded people and proactive.
Yeah,
like
doers.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them around. To get 6 of them in a house together is pretty
I know,
fucking special.
Yeah, yeah, and there was problems with it as well. Like, big personalities and stuff like that. I wasn't there that long.
Right.
It was really interesting for a while. It's a lot of work. Like, it is a lot of work. But we did a few different types of parties, and one of them was just bringing people. Everyone would bring 2 or 3 songs and talk about them.
Cool.
And you'd get up and you'd have a little story about each song, play it, listen to it, and then someone else would come, and it's just a kind of party you don't come across that often, and that kind of idea then to maybe expand that into the radio blah blah thing. But yeah, as I said, like, I get ideas about opening restaurants, or like I like that I think would be economically good money spinners or whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of have to check myself and go, no, you've chosen a difficult path with the filmmaking. Just focus on that. And I most of my energy goes into that, and most of my talk goes into that. But it's kind of fun to do other things as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a real ready appetite for the idea that you'd listen to a new song and hear somebody talk about it. Personally, now that would be right up my street.
Right.
Really would, like.
Yeah.
And I think I'm representative of a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Like, how often do you hear people say, you know, or ask you, you know, do you have any new music, or what are you listening to these days? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
To hear somebody, to listen to a new song and then hear somebody explain what it's about or where it came from or its history, it gives you an insight into every other song you'll ever listen to. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
Because I think people, especially these days, and a big part of the reason that I'm doing this is my pushback against what I call the domestication of humanity, essentially.
Right.
I feel that humans worldwide, especially in the West, have been domesticated to a point where they're being bred to consume, essentially.
Right.
So, you know, the songs that are played on the radio, they're hitting certain circuitry in your brain. There's so many, you know, beats per second, and that makes them catchy and popular, and that provides revenue, and the big wheel turns. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
But there's you know, hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Ireland alone, even that are making really good music. What is actually music, and not just so many beats per minute or whatever it is that catches your attention.
Yeah.
And the promotion, like there's an infinite pool of people like that waiting to be promoted, and if you can kind of be the conduit to put them to other people, I think you're really onto something. Like, and the same for films, I think, as well.
Yeah. Well, something that was lost with like the demise of records and CDs and DVDs was that culture of swap. Oh, you need to see this. You need to listen to this. It's there a bit. I mean, you can send someone a link, but it's not really the same.
Unless it's a link to something that's about 11 seconds long, you're fucked, like, because people just don't have it. Like, they don't have. It's not that they don't have it; they don't make the time.
Yeah. It's gone out of the culture. Like, I used to make CDs for people. I used to make mixes for people.
Yeah.
And you'd put a lot of time and effort in, and you know, people really appreciate it. It doesn't always. When you did make a mix that hit with somebody, you know, I still have tapes. I still have CDs. Like, when I remember when I was like in 6th class, I was like singing. I was into weird indie music that most weren't, and I think I was like singing a Pixies song or something, and obviously had like a cool sub teacher, and he was probably only like 22 or 23, but he heard me. He was like, how do you know that song? I was like, oh, they're one of my favourite bands or whatever, and he was blown away, and he made me a tape, and like I still have that tape. You know, it's class tape, like
something tangible as well. Like, a memory attached and all the rest of it. Like.
And you know, put it on in the car, and like, it's funny, I probably didn't really get most of the songs on it, but when I found it years later, I'd kind of discovered a lot of the bands myself after. So like Bob Dylan and like Idiot Win by Bob Dylan was on it, and there was like this class Moby track. This is like pre-internet. There's this like class Moby track that I couldn't find for years what it was. And I'd lost the tape, and then like I heard it, a DJ was playing it, and I ran up to him and I had to find out what it was. Whereas now
you couldn't just Shazam it.
Now it's just Shazam, like the magic, which I love Shazam. Like I wouldn't but, and I don't want to be one of these people who laments, you know,
technophobe or...
but there is something, like, I think about this a lot. You might think about it a lot as well, in terms of our generation is the kind of the last pre-internet generation.
Yeah,
we remember both.
100%.
And I think that's a really big deal. And I think
massive.
That will get to be a bigger deal as we get older. It's weird to think that we'll be like these old fuddy-duddies.
We're already the old fuddy-duddies.
Yeah. But going on, like, you know, talking about things like that, tapes and mix CDs, and you know how quickly they're gone. Like, they were the thing for so long. You know, like, and like, just everything. Like, I do feel sorry for kids who are coming up now. Just like, I don't know what I'd be like with the influence of like the internet. Like, if you had any kind of trouble in school, people were, I wasn't bullied or anything, but the fucking shit that goes on in school.
Yeah.
But when you went home, there was a break.
There was, absolutely.
It was solace. It was peace.
Yeah.
Whereas now it just seems like it's non-stop, and like porn, like growing up in the age of porn, like how fucked up, like how could that not mess with you?
Yeah. I was only listening to a podcast recently. It wasn't about porn, but porn came up.
Yeah.
It's actually Rogan, I think.
Right.
And one of the interesting things that came up in it was the guy that was on, I think, gave an example of how there was some story he'd heard of some young lad, 16 or 17-year-old, whatever, was seeing a girl for a couple of weeks, whatever, and finally got to the stage where it was, up to the bedroom, and the pants came down, and he fucking freaked out,
right?
Because she had pubes, essentially,
right?
And he was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck is?" And he was fucking horrified, and she was horrified because he was horrified.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just because she had pubes, but he's grown up on porn, like,
right?
So practically never seen a pube in his life. Do you
yeah.
like, in a way?
Yeah.
Little things like that, like,
yeah.
And even what's driving the content, because another point that was made was porn actresses between the ages of, give or take, 23 and 35 apparently can't get work.
Yeah, because they're not MILFs and they're not
teens.
Yeah, yeah.
And like when you've got that,
yeah,
like it's fucking scary. It really is. And when you know how I suppose innocent everyone is when they're kind of growing up, and how easily influenced they are.
Yeah, like I was so innocent, like, but I'm so, like, I didn't actually discover porn until I was about 23, like. Yeah. And to think, if
Old Man Webster.
yeah, but I would have been like, now, like, someone who's 23 would have like 6 or 7 years of porn use behind them.
That's what I mean. Like old Man Webster. You sound like my granddad talking about the fucking war. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're saying we'll get to the stage when we'll become these people.
Yeah.
You're fucking living it. Like.
Yeah.
Like, for a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old to hear that you only first came across porn, pardon the pun, when you were fucking, in your 20s.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like?
Yeah.
Like, in their mind, like, were you a fucking virgin till you were 30?
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, it's weird, like.
Yeah. So in that way, the generation gap between our generation and that generation is huge, way bigger than, I think, between us and the next generation, say, ahead of us.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about our generation being, I suppose, that the last people to remember a kind of pre-internet day.
Yeah.
And I think the internet had so much promise and still does have so much promise. Like, the idea of your teacher giving you that mixtape.
Yeah.
When the internet came along, everyone thought that, that little interaction that you had, now you'll have that, once a week, because you can just send this stuff.
Yeah.
But instead what you get is you get 1,000 of them every 20 minutes. You're flooded with so much shit. You can't separate the wheat from the chaff, like.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, maybe it makes people appreciate things like that, and I guess it's important to get the balance of, like, not harking back in a kind of a fake nostalgic way, but taking the value from those kind of things that were from the past and kind of recognizing them. And I think that does happen, like, in terms, like, people, that's why people are going back to records, and that's why there's still bookshops on every street.
Absolutely.
Even though the technology has outpassed all that.
Like, books are redundant.
Yeah.
Full stop.
There's no need for
absolutely none whatsoever.
But that would be something that gives me hope. People still like the feel of it. And
I'd be massively optimistic.
Yeah.
About, and that's just, I suppose, my nature in general, but I'd like to think I'd make a good solid case for there being reason to be. Yeah, now we're back in the room. I don't know what the fuck happened there.
So where did we...
You were talking about the documentary that you'd like to make about your man, the doctor. What was his name again?
Dr. Rin. So basically, becomes the first vasectomy doctor.
A vasectomist?
I think that's what they say in America, but I think here's
a vasectomy doctor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of rubbing up against the church and all that, and priests coming to his house and all that. And then in the kind of early 80s, when contraceptive, they made them legal because they had to, but then
you had to
they had to get a prescription from a doctor. So imagine, couples or even a single person, trying to get condom, like, just, what we consider the basic responsible thing to do, to always have condoms on you, that they would be this kind of contraband item. That,
But you see, what did you say there? The basic responsible thing to do?
Yeah.
The basic responsible thing to do is not to be having premarital sex, young Webster. Did you not know?
Right. Yes.
See that this was
that would be the argument. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mother Teresa came and spoke about it. What was it? Whenever she was here, early 80s.
Yeah.
Came out and said, like, I think they would have to be made legal.
Right.
Whether on prescription or otherwise.
Yeah.
And she proclaimed from the pulpit essentially to the masses, don't be fucking using these things. They're evil. They're fucking this, that, and the other. Yeah. And that mentality is still peddled by the Catholic Church in the developing world now. And the Catholic Church in particular has fucking the blood of millions of people on its hands, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because they're still at that. Like.
Yeah. Jesus, it's crazy. Like, we would consider ourselves so developed in that, at this stage. But this is, as I say, this is 30 odd years ago. Yeah. So he got 600 signatures from GPs around the country saying this is unworkable. Brought it to the Dáil. Dáil did nothing. So he said, right, I have to do something about this. All these other doctors signed it, but nobody else actually did anything about it. This is the thing that I'm really interested about, progress, and how sometimes we kind of think, progress is just a natural result of time moving on, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
hard
not.
Work.
Yeah,
And it's people like it's loads and loads of little stories like this, and this is the one little story that I want to tell. So he and a civil act of disobedience. So he purposely broke the law. So he got a friend of his to come in and buy the condoms and he sold them to him without a prescription.
Yeah.
And then they went into the Garda station with all the evidence, the most cooperative criminals ever.
Class.
Handed over the receipts and a picture of him selling, all the evidence they need.
Of course, yeah. Arrest me.
Yeah. Hands out for the handcuffs, and so the guards were like, right, okay, so they arrested him, went to court, just kicking up a big fuss, making a big fuss. Got ordered to pay a fine. He could either pay a £500 fine or go to jail. He said he wanted to go to jail.
Of course, yeah, for the publicity.
Yeah, but his family wouldn't let him. So he said he'd appeal the £500 fine, so it went to whatever the next highest up court was.
Yeah.
And so they had to make this case then for why it was ridiculous in court. So this kind of got the national attention that it needed to get. And there's actually a clip on the Reeling in the Years from 1983 of him kind of outside the court.
No way. That would be a cool edit into the documentary, the live footage.
Get the archive of that, and and there's kind of a funny story. Like, they were basically arguing to the judge why this is unworkable, and one of the things was like GPs weren't open at the weekend, and the judge was obviously kind of old fashioned or whatever, a bit exacerbated with the whole thing. He just thought it was a whole farce or whatever, and why can't people just wait till Monday? So that was actually the headline then on the next day.
Yeah, of course.
And so wait till Monday. So that kind of came synonymous with that judge, and apparently he had a good sense of humour about it, and he had a horse, and he called it wait till Sunday, and
brilliant,
done quite well. So just all these little stories kind of throughout his life, and then the next one, this is the kind of fun bit of the kind of thrilling bit, and the bit that I'm going to use to kind of hook in viewers into the documentary. So basically, he was shot.
I'd nearly forgotten it was the same guy.
So he was shot in 1990 by a former patient who had actually had a a problem with him, and the doctor just became a conduit. I think everything just went wrong in that man's life after his wife went off with another woman and whatever. So, and just the way he tells the stories, like, you know, when something like that happens, it really is life changing. Like,
yeah,
like he should have died by all rights, but when you come out of it, it does change. And like he said, he had a big party for the 25 years after the shooting, and it was just real good sense of humor about it. Like he said, when his brother heard he'd been shot, he thought it was the armed wing of the pro-life movement, because he had kind of butted head against them as well. So his whole career was just kind of, you know, kind of pointing out the ridiculous things in the country. Kind of not like someone, he wasn't like going out of his way to do it. It just, I don't know, there's just something about the way he tells the story that's just like, he just saw ridiculous things and he kind of tried to point them out. And it's not like I think so. That court case was a contributor to it being the condoms being legalized. Like a year or two later, they were properly legalized. Now, it wasn't because of this doctor, but it was part of it strengthened the argument, kind of thing.
Well, look, it started the argument, I suppose, did it?
Yeah,
to a large degree.
Yeah. So the thing that fascinates me about the stories, it's so recent.
Yeah, but the cool thing about the documentary that you'll do on it is, or for argument's sake, that the scene, let's say, when the guy comes out of church and he has that conversation.
Yeah.
Presumably, he'll be wearing the clothes he would have worn at at that time. Not that they would have been massively different or that. That
and that's where the budget will come in. That's why this is more expensive than most documentaries. It's a period.
Yes, but I think, like, you can be told that this happened in this year, and go, oh, fuck, that was very recent. But when you see it filmed, and they have, let's say, the style of the car of the time, if you had that kind of a budget and whatever else, that without being told the year, it's like, fuck.
Yeah,
this happened in colour. Like, I expected all this to happen in black and white. Like, this is this not history? No, this is fucking earlier on today. Like.
This is in your living. This happened in your lifetime. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a couple of things you reminded me of there. In relation to your man kind of pushing back. I don't know if I got it from Hitchens. I don't know if the quote is attributable to him.
Yeah.
But it's our moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I think that's fucking cool. Like,
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And another one that you reminded me of was, in order for evil to thrive, good men need do nothing.
Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah.
And again, another accelerant for this podcast is that it's my effort to kind of do something, so that kind of way to get other people talking about these things and to be devil's advocate and to show opposing sides and to give people fucking something to listen to. That listens, you know, fucking the Premier League or, you know, fucking whatever bullshit people are consuming. Like.
I still keep my toe a bit in the football, but most our friends, our circle of friends, like the amount of like brain space.
Oh, it's fucking colossal. Name 400 players. Go. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Name fucking a politician. Trump.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fucking hell.
Yeah. I guess that's like an escapist thing. I don't know if it's like that's done on purpose or is it just, I don't know. Like, we all have our thing. Like, you know, I can name you 400 directors or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the amount, it always just amazes me, lads at every level, how much they can know, and like the way they test each other. You know, these quizzes that they come out with.
Yeah.
Name 4 players that won the Premier League but are left-footed or some shit.
Yeah,
like,
of course, yeah.
And
who had the most assists for Arsenal in 1974? Fucking bang, you know, the fucking name, like.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
For a start, not everyone thinks that. Do you know what I mean?
Have you seen the Mitchell and Webb skit?
Mitchell and Webb, no.
Do you know Peep Show at all?
No.
2 very funny guys. Peep Show you should definitely watch, and then they had kind of a sketch show, and they they have one where it's like a piss take of like the Sky Sports ads, and
football.
Who will win the football? It's like an endless
this week,
amount,
the same as last week. Most probably the same thing next week.
An endless amount of combinations of teams to play in and forever to play it in.
But they hit the nail on the head, like, you know, just fucking
the unendingness of it.
Yeah.
Who will win the football?
Who will win the football? But even like, this would be all up your street. How it's directed, like how it's so engaging. Like, do you know, kind of like if you didn't speak English, you'd want to fucking watch whatever program this was.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's walking, the camera pans as he walks past, and it zooms in and it cuts, and it's all, you know, fucking dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's like a theatrical trailer, like. Do you know, kind of way?
I know what you mean. Yeah, because they have to, because like in the 70s and 80s and 90s, like I was watching the Giles documentary, like, you know, there's football, like the football wasn't as good, but the characters were there.
Yeah.
You know, it was just much more interesting. It was a lot, you know, it was people who looked like us with mustaches, you know, like, or people that looked like our dads playing.
Yes.
You know, whereas now it just seems to have gotten so removed from reality, and it's just kind of grotesque.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
A lot of it's disgusting.
Like. Yeah. But I guess it's an escapist thing.
Yeah, and you know, there's plenty of room for that, and I think that's to be encouraged. I think people, it's like in a way you can argue that it's a form of fiction. Do you know that kind of way? It's escapism, and that's necessary in this kind of tipsy topsy world that we live in. But not when it's all you fucking do or think about.
Like it's that far removed from like wrestling. Like, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Like there's a load of build up and talk, and then there's a fight, and then there's a load of, like, you know, talk about it after. It's all just
lads ganging up on the referee and fucking blah 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 and fucking whatever else. But it makes the papers, like, fucking, you know, Manchester United striker has affair with fucking some young one, and it's the front page of the newspapers.
Yeah.
And not even what we would have just called the rags, like. Do you know that kind of way? Like the broadsheets, like.
Yeah. It's mad. The one thing I do love is sports documentaries.
Okay.
Like Senna.
I loved Senna.
Yeah.
I thought that was class. That was a great window for me into the world of motorsport, I suppose.
Yeah. So I'd love to do something like that. That's what film is all about for me. You know, giving you a window into a world that you'd never see.
Yeah.
And documentary is great for that.
There's a great one on the UFC.
Oh, yeah?
A fantastic one on the UFC.
What's that called?
Fuck. I know it's 90 minutes, an hour and a half.
Right.
UFC. If you stick it into if you just Google it, you know, UFC documentary, find something that's 90 minutes, odds are it's it. Like.
Okay, I'll check that out. ESPN, they did a series called 30 for 30. Did you ever come across this?
Oh, vaguely familiar, yeah.
So basically, they did it for a few years. I don't think they do it anymore, but they would take 30 filmmakers, and they'd go off and they'd make 30 different films, and it was totally up to the filmmakers what they wanted to do. And you've got quite famous, like, you'd have well-known directors, and like Ice Cube did one.
Right, yeah.
And they're really good. Like, some of them are a bit hit and miss, because they're like some of the sports, like the baseball ones and the American football ones, we just have no real frame of context.
I know what you mean.
But then there'd be ones that, like, you know, it's this, like, there's one of them was about Hillsborough.
Right.
Devastating, like one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, really good. Like, they did the reenactments really well. I think the key to kind of reenactments is you know, subtlety, imagery. Did you ever watch The Jinx?
I couldn't finish it.
What?
I know. I fucking know.
I say I finished it in a day.
I don't know what it was about it. It just didn't grab my attention.
That's very strange.
Yeah, because
I thought you'd love it.
I think it might have been oversold to me.
Okay, yeah.
And you know yourself
happens,
how that can happen. Like,
yeah.
Like when somebody tells you it's the best documentary of all time ever, and everyone agrees, and you sit down and you're 5 minutes in, you're like,
it happens all the time. That's why I try, when I go to cinema, I try and go see things early and see it before kind of people wreck my head about it. Like, I saw Dunkirk recently, and I'd heard a lot about it. I just couldn't see it early on for whatever reason, and everybody was all like, I met a fella who'd gone to see it 9 times.
Jesus.
Before I got to see it once, like, and I was like, I'm gonna hate this, and I was blown away by it.
No way.
Saw it in IMAX and watched it with my parents actually, and jeez, I never get teary at films. Like, I could count.
You're overselling it.
I know. Yeah, I'm ruining it now for you, but yeah, like you could count the amount of times on one finger.
And what was it? Was there something in particular that choked you up, or what?
It's embarrassing. It's actually.
Here we go. The fucking snowflake lefty coming out.
No, it's not. No, it was like basically when they see all the little boats that come from England, and like the actor says, he's like looking out to sea. He's like, what is it? It's home.
You serious?
It got me. And then there's a bit where they see the cliffs of Dover or whatever, but it's so. Like, I saw it in IMAX, and it's really loud, and it's like you're there. You'd nearly have fucking PTSD.
Yeah.
After, and like, just it's so tense, and just just Blighty in the distance. Home. I couldn't believe it. Right? Like, cause I'm dead inside. Usually
when it comes to that, really.
Yeah, like I know I feel the emotions, but I never actually cry. But that got me. Yeah. There's always there's been films that got me. Like, there's a film called Dear Zachary.
Right. Don't know.
Just watch it. I think it's on Netflix. If I tell you anything about it, it'll kind of ruin you.
Right.
Ruin it for you. But very emotional. And I recommended it to. Well, no, I watched it, and my friend is always slagging me Gar. Because I always slag him. You'd cry at an ad.
Yeah.
At a tampon ad, you'd cry and he's a big man, like, and he's just, I don't know, just when it comes to stuff, he's just
herself really. Is the exact same. Like the analogy I gave is, or the example I gave is, she cried when the shark died at the end of Jaws. Like, anything, really? Anything at all. Maybe, I
don't know. Maybe they're better adjusted than us.
Well, you see, that's the thing. Like, I don't think it's unhealthy. But is being kind of dead inside unhealthy? Obviously not completely dead inside.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I think if I was like not, it's not that I'm not feeling anything. I just don't feel the compulsion to cry. It's not. I don't think I've ever really cried. Like,
really?
Not really? Yeah, I don't think so. Certainly not. Kind of, yeah.
And have you ever felt kind of not put out, but have you? Like, I'd be something similar.
Yeah.
And I would deal with things, especially as they happen, with ease in comparison to a lot of people. And I know that other people view me as being a bit, what's the word? Insensitive, I suppose.
Right,
or cold. Yeah. Or heartless.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I think we're just. It's not that. Yeah, I think it's not that you're not feeling it. It's just your reaction isn't to. It doesn't make you fall apart.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I get a bad rap for that for being kind of cold and heartless.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bit unfair. I think more. I think that dislike is more warranted towards people who fucking break down all the time, because what use are you when fucking you break down?
Yeah.
All you're doing is fucking adding to fucking everybody else's fucking grief or misery to a degree, at least.
Yeah.
Like, be the shoulder to cry on, not the fucking cunt looking for one. Do you know what I mean? That'd be my way of viewing it. Like,
yeah. With him, it's kind of funny. Like that film he was saying, it's because it's just really sad, and he was just like, he just wanted to go and hug his children.
Fuck yeah.
And he was saying, I think that Ricky Gervais thing, that Derek thing, he was saying, always gets him. But I think it's
that Ricky Gervais Derek thing.
Derek it's he plays a kind of a guy with intellectual difficulties and he works in like a nursing home. It's very sweet. It's very, kind of bittersweet, kind of sad, happy, sad kind of thing. But I guess different people are, it's if it's happening all the time, I suppose that's a different thing. But I guess different things get to different people. Like I remember one time, watching the end of Shawshank Redemption, and it got to me, where Bird died. And that got to me, and I maybe it was the fourth or fifth time, and
that's the lad who hung himself, is it?
It didn't
Spoiler
get
alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, but I think my dad was sick at the time or something. So
of course, it hit home,
something like that. Yeah, but no, generally, no, I feel the emotions, but I just there's no
outward expression of it, like.
in there or whatever.
Working,
and I guess there's like. I don't know. Yeah, I think there's kind of the stoicism has kind of been knocked as, everything that's wrong, or that it's a very bad trait or something. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not overly familiar with stoicism. I've heard the term, but I couldn't describe it to someone.
So stoic is kind of stony faced, kind of
emotionless.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
like there is actually, there was a philosophical movement called from Stoic, so the etymology of the word is it's changed a lot, but basically now the modern understanding of it is kind of like you'd always hear of like people talked about their granddads that they were Stoic, kind of
old school,
not overly old school, just gone on with it, no big emotions, and I think there's a certain amount of value, there's a balance, but I don't think it should be dismissed. It is. I think in the modern times it is a little bit. Do you know what I mean? That kind of that.
Yeah, it's okay. Have a good cry there.
Yeah.
Let your emotions out, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, don't be bottling everything up.
But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe, and people say that maybe that's why women live longer. I don't know if there's medical truth in that they cry and they talk and. But I think I don't know. I just wonder, is there a balance? Is it necessarily the bad thing that's kind of...
Does it go hand in hand with having like a dark side? And I don't mean that. I don't mean that as a pejorative.
Yeah.
Like I think Peterson talks about this, and I think either Freud or Jung or both of them maybe mentioned it. This idea of the shadow, your inner ability to be an evil bastard, basically.
Right.
And the idea being that if you don't have that, like if you're not capable of murderous rage, say, then that if you're not capable of that, that devalues your niceness. Because I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, whatever else, I'm nice. I don't go out of my way to inflict pain or anything like that on people, but I'm well fucking capable of it.
Right.
Like I would have a dark side, a shadow, say.
Right. Yeah.
And I suppose the mixed martial arts allows me to, or has allowed me to kind of release that a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the idea being that you're not really a whole pile without that, if that makes sense. Like
I know what you mean. Yeah.
If you're incapable of it, like all you are is you're just a rabbit. You're just harmless.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, say, where would you kind of? Is there like killer instinct, or killer streak, kind of, or like I would say I would have. I know there's a bit of a mean streak in me somewhere. It doesn't come out very often, but like. Even say my sense of humor, I have black, like you. I know you have a black sense of humor.
Yeah. My sense of humor wouldn't be everybody's cup of dead baby.
Yeah. Like I find that hilarious.
Yeah, whereas somebody else would just fucking recoil in horror. Like,
because are we able to? I don't know. Are we able to go dark because we know the light is there? We know we can go drift into those dark areas. Because I know. Our center, our moral compass is light, or maybe maybe there's something to that.
What does that mean? Now, your moral compass, our center is light.
Like you might have a streak in you that has that kind of that you could cut someone like verbally or whatever, or you'd like.
Yeah, it can be fairly scathing. Like,
scathing,
yeah. I'd have a forked tongue when I need it. Like.
Right, yeah. And that comes out when I'm drunk sometimes. I'm always a bit like. That's why, I don't drink that much. I'm not a huge heavy drinker, but it's one fear that I would have that I wake up and why did I say that? Like when I'm sober, I just keep it in and I have a little giggle to myself. Sorry, what was that, Bob? Oh.
Did I say the loud quiet bit loud?
And I definitely have a face. I know I do, and I kind of like my eyebrow cocks up a bit. I go inside.
Yeah, of course.
But like I think in general, I know I have. I know I'm a good person. I know I'm a moral person. So I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, but again, back to Peterson, I think his point is that if you don't have that, then you can't take credit for being nice.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think there's something to think of in there, because if you're incapable of being like an evil bastard basically, and you're just kind of nice and polite and harmless by default, and that's all you are, you can't take credit for that.
Yeah.
You really can't. Like.
Yeah.
But it's when you are capable of doing these things and don't.
Yeah.
That's something to be proud of, basically. Like, you can't be proud of being, nice as pie and harmless and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
If you're not kind of suppressing an alternative.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of something. I was kind of following the Charlottesville thing.
Yeah.
I was watching like the Vice thing, and all the Nazis were like, it's like, what we're facing here. It's amazing that like nobody's been shot, and it was a bit amazing. It was a bit incredible that with all the guns that were there, that there wasn't a mass shooting. But like this guy was trying to take credit for not shooting everyone,
Yes.
not shooting up the place.
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
Whoa, yeah, that's like a different. But that
nobody's talking about the restraint that we fucking had.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We had loads of guns and loads of people we wanted to shoot, but you know what? We didn't shoot anyone.
Yeah.
Where's the credit?
Yeah, no credit. Yeah, so I guess that's the extreme. That's America.
I have to have a think about that one now, because that is the same thing. It's the same. Yeah. It's along the same lines.
It is a bit.
There's some. Yeah, I'll definitely have a think about that now.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted.
But that was such an extreme. Yeah, I don't. But America, the context of America is so insane that you have to take that into account as well. That whole situation in Charlottesville is has kind of been coming for the last 300 years.
Yeah, I was thinking about Trump, and I was trying to point
it probably takes up about a third of my brain space.
Yeah, and I think it's like the whole fake news phenomenon. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but I fucking love it.
Right.
I absolutely love it. It's a good thing. More of it. That's what I want. I nearly set up a fake news site, honestly, and just start peddling complete nonsense.
Right. Yeah.
But not complete nonsense. Nonsense that people would kind of swallow, and not in a satirical kind of way, not in a Waterford Whisperers or the Onion kind of way.
Yeah.
But actually try and convince people that because Jupiter and Mars are aligned, there's going to be a bad storm or shit like that.
Yeah.
If the more of that that's peddled out there, the more people are going to be fed up and won't know who to turn to or what to think is true. Yeah. And that's a fucking good thing.
Yeah.
People are just they're literally going to have to start kind of checking their sources.
It's a funny thing that, like, when was news not fake?
Yeah, I saw a great quote. Who was it? George Orwell. It was about journalism. What was it? Journalism is printing something that somebody else doesn't want printed. Everything else is public relations.
Right.
I thought that was pretty fucking
really
cool.
Like,
really fucking cool.
Yeah. Because I've before all this, I always was very skeptical of everything that I read, and if we can get that, that you take every single thing that you read with a pinch of salt and try and think of the vested interests that are going into that. Not by malicious, and I'm not saying every journalist, but just from kind of working in media, brushing up alongside journalism, and seeing how it works. Like, there's a few things. These are tiny little things that happened early on in kind of my career that made me go, fucking journalists are full of shit. And I know journalists, and I know PR people. Like my friend Dave, one of my best friends, Dave, is works in PR, and he's he's brilliant at his job, but he will fill you in on all the bullshit. Like,
oh, I believe it, yeah.
But like, the thing that happened, it's a small thing again, like, but myself and my filmmaking partner at the time, we were making a film about this. We were only kids, we were 20. We're making a documentary about my favourite singer-songwriter. So it was a cool thing we did. We were only like 20, but we were making loads of music videos, and we really loved this guy Sean Miller. I think he's like the best Irish, one of the best Irish songwriters ever, but he's just never got his dues for whatever reason. But we were making a documentary about him, and he got a big write-up in the Times at the time, and the journalist liked him, and he was like, you know, he's a well-meaning journalist, and it was a really good piece. It was a long piece about Sean's career and kind of saying how good he is. And this is just a tiny little detail, but we were reading it, and Sean was quoted as saying, "Oh yeah, and there's these two guys, they're making a documentary," or the journalist said, "There's two guys making a documentary," and he quoted Sean as saying, "Oh yeah, there are these two fanboys, and they're making a documentary about me, and it's going to be this and that. It's going to be about this and that." And fanboys, yeah.
Okay, of him or
of him, yeah.
Right.
So it's talking about us.
Yeah.
And like, fanboy is,
it's a
derogatory term. Yeah,
it's
not a nice,
100%.
Not a nice thing to be called. But he called it straight away. He said, "I never said fanboy. I didn't even know what it meant."
Right. Yeah.
So the journalist just took that and took, I think he said, two fans, and the journalist just said, "Oh yeah, two fanboys." You know, for whatever reason, he thought it felt better. Now I've done journalism as well, but that always made me not be very careful with quoting people's words and things like that. Of course, yeah. I know that's a tiny thing, but
it is a tiny thing.
Yeah.
But it's a massively important tiny thing.
Yeah. So that was like, and just a little detail, but like always, like, big picture, fine, but when you're reading on it, and just like thinking about those little details. Another one was I was talking to a filmmaker. This is a lecture years ago. It was actually a film lecturer who wrote a book about a film that was made about, an Irish film that was made about Hugo Chavez. It was this mad thing where they ended up, they're just filmmakers, they were Irish documentarians, and they were just making this kind of normal documentary about Hugo Chavez, but they happened to be there at the time when there was a coup to try and take over the government.
Right.
And this lecturer wrote a book about it, and he was saying that he was doing all the research about what happened in Venezuela around that time that the film was made and all that stuff, and he was looking at the headlines from the day of the coup, basically, and I think it was like a really respected paper. I don't know if it was the Guardian or the Telegraph or something like that, and the headline in the South America section of the newspaper was, because basically there was a load of fake news put out that the coup was successful, but it wasn't.
Right.
And a load of Western papers reported that, but it was wrong. And he looked at the headline, and he looked at the journalist, and he called up the journalist. And he found out the journalist, who was the South American correspondent, like, first of all, having a South American correspondent, like, it's a vast continent. He was basically sitting on a beach in Brazil. And he said, "What was your source for the Venezuela story?" So, I just took it off Reuters, which is like the
this is counting for journalism these days, like.
Yeah, and this is going back a few years. So like, and the role of the journalists have been cut and cut and cut. Journalism, like, the amount of money going into it. So like, you're talking about maybe 5 to 8 years ago. So imagine now, like, you know, so when what you're actually reading, when you think it's like, you know, news, it's not news.
No, absolutely not. Like, but I mean, I look at what's on the news, let's say in the Irish media, and even what's on the papers. Like, it's not news. Like, and like, what the reporting on is inaccurate, and what they're reporting on isn't news.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of they're inaccurately reporting on stuff that isn't even news.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in today's world, like, every so often I'll come across an article or someone will send me something, and I'll be reading through it, and it'll be some journalist saying that you know, this guy said this and this guy said that, and I'm like, why am I listening to a fucking journalist telling me what this guy said? And you Google him and pull him up on Twitter and see exactly what he fucking said. Do you know that kind of way? Because people are misrepresented fucking left, right and centre. Like.
Yeah. And there's a style of making documentaries now where you just get people to talk about, like, this, you know, like media people. There's people who are just like professional media pundits or whatever, and go, oh yeah, and when she did that, I couldn't believe it. You know, the style of making content, and it kind of feeds into reality TV and stuff. It's just so fake and so bullshit, and it's kind of like everybody who's watching it knows it's bullshit. Everybody who's making it knows it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But
it's like music. It's become commercial.
Yeah.
So your writing thing, or you're writing or directing or whatever, or producing or whatever you're doing, not because you've got something to say, but because you know that there's a need. Netflix have a need for this, so that's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
As opposed to doing it because you've got something to say, or you want to make people aware of whatever it is. Like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I would have those. I have like my bread and butter things. So I write for Fair City. That's kind of that helps pay the bills, and I enjoy it. And
that makes you kind of not uncorruptible, but certainly less corruptible than somebody whose only income is from making movies. That's what it does. Yeah, it allows me to pursue the stuff that I want to do. That said, I go for every fund that's going on, every piece of money that's out there, because, you know, so I'm happy to be. I kind of call that like my mercenary work. Yes. So that's like, you know, that's exactly what my business is.
Right.
It's exactly what it is. I have absolutely no interest in that business whatsoever.
Right.
None.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely none.
But it allows me to
do this, and it allows me to train. It allows me to study. It allows me to live my life, basically. Yeah. But it is me selling my soul, essentially. Right. Like, if I won the lotto tomorrow, the fucking doors get locked, and that's the end of it. Like, do you know what I mean?
But most people, they're just selling their soul for no good reason, or, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But again, your man Peterson talks about this quite a bit. Monetizing creativity is practically impossible. So you have to have, you know, a job or something that makes you money in order to be creative. Full stop, basically. Yeah. Because if you were relying on the money that you make from the kind of documentaries and movies that you're making, like, you wouldn't be fucking making them. Like. And I wouldn't be sitting. I wouldn't have the time to meet people. Like, I've Patter booked in now for Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Right. Like, in what planet would that ever be possible? Like, do you know, kind of way? And the only reason that he can do that is because he works shift work. Right. 4 days on, 4 days off. Like. And what the business has given me is autonomy. It's given me the fucking space in my day, and therefore space in my head, to try and figure out what the fuck I want to do, and to study what the left is and what the right is, and hopefully regurgitate that in a way that's palatable for most people.
And that's invaluable. And would you say, I know you were always interested in stuff, but was there like a turning point for you in terms of all this stuff?
I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but I remember when I was small, I was 6 or 7 maybe, I don't know, but I was walking through Dalgan Park with my mum, and this harks back to what we were saying earlier, but when you're younger you look up to doctors and nurses and guards because you think they're this you know thing. We were walking along, and my mum started kind of waving at me, like, And she goes, isn't it mad the way flies only buzz when they get really close to your ear? And I, as like a 6-year-old, just looked up at her and thought to myself, that's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. Oh my God. You're teaching me? What? And that was a real pivotal fucking seismic shift in my fucking way I viewed the world. Like, right. So ever since then, I've kind of, questioned things, I suppose.
Right. Okay,
now again, I don't know if that you can see how that kind of is loosely linked to what you asked, but I don't think it really addresses it.
Well, yeah. So you were always questioning.
From that moment, I had this kind of maybe things aren't all they seem, or kind of you can't trust norms, basically.
Say that I love that story. That's brilliant. But say in terms of like your current kind of mode, say where you've thrown yourself into it.
What the fuck was it? I can't put my finger on it, but there's definitely something in there that did want me to. Hitchens, I suppose, was a big one.
Right.
And I suppose atheism as well, which obviously kind of directed me to Hitchens, because I, even from a kid, like I never bought that, right. And I don't think kids buy it full stop. They just give up after a while.
I think there's something in it that's intrinsically appeals to kids. Like I was thinking about it today. I always have a great think at mass when I do go. Not about what's kind of just about the phenomenon of it. Like, so we're at christening today, and like it's funny. Like you just like the money being passed around, and like it's like oh yeah, this is something we do.
Yeah. Get your wallets out. This isn't a business. This isn't. To quote the priest from today's fucking mass. This is a brand, but it's not a business. Cough up the fucking dollar bills, y'all. Do you know what I mean?
And for all the years that was just so normalized. Yeah. But when I was a kid, I loved the religion. I loved it all. Yeah, kind of. It did something for me. As I said, very kind of moral. I was always a very moral kid, like good and bad, and so I was always thinking about like what would Jesus do, and I guess I liked the stories of it and stuff, and yeah, I liked it. Like I always tell my kind of me coming to atheism, I kind of talk it like there were 3 big punches. It was like
Trinity.
The Trinity, yeah. It was like slow enough to I was always so consumed with films and stuff. I wasn't really questioning things that much when I was a kid. But the first one came, and it's funny. The 3 very holy places that I went to. So we went to Lourdes, and I remember we would have gone to Knock when we were kids and stuff, and went to Lourdes, and I was just like, I was only 15. And it was so tacky.
Yeah, gaudy.
Yeah. Like, so cheap.
You have used 3 inches of sticky tape.
Yeah, it really was. Like, just everything with, like, Mary's face on it. Yeah. And, like, the whole story of it. And it's just, it was just weird. It
that was a big Roswell nearly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know, kind of like, I've never been, but apparently when you go to Roswell, there's a whole economy based around it. I think Lourdes is something similar.
And it just felt very unspiritual and very unholy.
Yeah, very commercial.
And then went to Rome. So I when I was 18, went to college, and we were given a choice of studying Irish or Italian, and I decided to go with Irish. Or decided to go with Italian, just like, we always kind of joked that me and my brothers looked Italian.
Of course.
And I kind of always had a bit of a fascination with Italian culture and all that stuff. And so my mum found out from a priest in Navan that they do this scheme in Rome that you can go, they bring students out, and they basically, the Irish Pontifical College in Rome, they open it up as, where all the priests train. And they kind of open it up as kind of a hotel, and they bring all these Irish students over to work for the summer, and we're just like cleaning.
I remember you actually being over at this at the time, yeah.
But it was like actually full on priest college. Like, now most of the priests were gone for the summer, but all like the monsignors and the main priests were there, and it was great. We'd work until 2 or 3 in the day, and then we were in the centre of Rome, and we could just go off and do what we wanted.
Class.
And even from where they were, like, it's beautiful cottage, they had a swimming pool and a basketball court, and
all mod cons.
All their meals every day were paid for, and they were always bringing us out. Like, they were really good to us, but like they were so out of touch. Like, the Monsignor said to me, we were sitting at a table, and they're so useless. Like, as you know, domestically, because everything's done for them.
Yeah.
There was a fucking delivery of wine to the thing, like every week and stuff. And the Monsignor was talking to me, and he was like, "Oh, I hate the food in Ireland. I brought my mother to the Shelburne the last day, and the food was terrible."
Complaining about the food in the Shelburne, like
so wildly out of touch. And then just Rome. Have you ever been to Rome?
Yeah.
You know yourself then, like, just like when
amazing
you go, it's incredible. And there's definitely something in the water there. Like they're just the people. Like, they're amazing people. Like, it's mad, just stories of people watching there. But when you go to Sistine Chapel and they're bringing you through, you spend like 2 hours going through the Vatican. Look at all this shit we own. Yeah. And even in the college, there was a big painting on the wall down in the basement, and one of the priests said, "Oh, that's priceless."
Yeah, as an aside.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Like, it was on a stamp or something. This like old painting that's worth a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Like, and then you walk out in the street in Rome, and it's like Rome's a real poor city, like.
Yeah.
And just side by side, and that was like an uppercut.
Yeah, of course.
That was a big knock, and that was kind of the end of, you know, religion for me.
But when you think like the disparity there between, let's say, the Vatican and how poor Rome is now.
Yeah.
When was the Vatican built? How poor was fucking Rome
back then?
Now, granted, it might have been the centre of an empire.
Yeah.
But how poor were the people?
Yeah.
The people outside of the fucking cities, like, do you know that kind of way?
Yeah, it's very hard when you start looking at it. The House of Cards just falls apart. And then the final blow was actually Jerusalem. So,
okay.
Yeah, when I was living out in Dubai, it was great. We got to do all this traveling. I was so lucky. Like, by the age of 23, 24, I'd seen a lifetime's worth of travel.
10 lifetimes probably, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, if to do it from here, you'd be saving up all your wages and going once a year, kind of, you know, in the space of 2 years. Like, when I say it, it's mad. It's like Sri Lanka, China. Then at Christmas in the first year we did the Holy Land, and and then later in the year like Nepal, Thailand, Africa, all these places. But the Holy Land I was always fascinated. I really wanted to go there. It wouldn't have been religious at all at this stage, but it's man, when you grow up with it, it's there. Like, even just the Holy Land.
Yeah, yeah. It's culturally relevant.
Yeah,
to you know, everyone. Yeah, really, like.
And it was mad. It was a real adventure getting there, because living in Dubai, in an Arab state, in the UAE, they didn't recognize Israel.
Yeah, of course.
So we weren't technically supposed to go. If we had gotten Israeli stamps on our passports, we wouldn't have been allowed back in. Couldn't call Israel, even in the school on the maps that we were given. We were supposed to cross out Israel, and there was a geography book, and the map with Israel was like stuck together.
Hilarious.
So ridiculous, like, you know. So they don't see it as Israel; they call it Palestine, occupied Palestine. But so thinking back now, it was a bit of a mad thing to do. Like, there was one border that you could go to that they wouldn't stamp.
Right.
So we flew into Jordan. Jordan's an amazing place. Petra. Petra's one of the great wonders, but it's kind of the least.
Have you
famous.
been to Petra? Have you?
Yeah.
The building in the mountain face, basically.
Yeah. It's incredible. I think part of it is because I've been to a good few of the wonders, and the more famous they are, the less impressive they are.
Right. Pyramids.
I don't know. I didn't get to them. I liked the Great Wall. I thought that was good. it's great. Yeah, what's Carl Spade? No, what's his name?
Pilkington.
Carl Pilkington, yeah. It's the alright wall. But yeah, but Petra, because it wasn't famous, it was a real wonderland, like, you know, and it's a whole city to explore. It was class. But yeah, different world, like. But yeah, so we crossed into Israel from there, and like, it's a real head fuck of a place. Like, it's like, I you know, I'm fascinated with the area and stuff, but it really, I don't know, everyone should go there. Like,
yeah,
you know, really just change how you think about things. Yeah, got to Jerusalem then, and it's a mad place to go because you're so familiar with all the places, and it's like, you know, it's a place like the center where everything happened is the size of Navan.
Yeah,
you know, but it's like, you look here and it's the mountain of Gethsemane, and here's the Mount of Olives, and here's the point of the Ascension, and all this language that you kind of go up with that has seeped in, and you're really familiar with it. So you're seeing where the Last Supper was, and it's all within walking distance, and like, it was just so human, like, it was so man-made. There was nothing spiritual about it, and there was just all it was division. So there was like, we had a really good guide, and he was like talking about the differences in the different religions, and there was like, I think the Orthodox Church originally, they broke away over a disagreement about something as small as like Saint Mary died and then ascended to heaven, or the other religion believed that she fell asleep and then rose to heaven but never died, or something stupid. Like, they went to war over this, like, you know. And that was the whole thing there. Like, if you go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, I can never say that word, sepulchre, I think it's where where he was actually died, I think.
Right.
And there's a church on it, and it's kind of a round, dark chapel, and it's kind of like in a pizza slice where it starts in the middle and then it works out, and there's like each religion has its kind of little segments. So it's like, and it's like, it's weird. There's each place has its like nun or monk or whoever who's like in charge of there, and they're like brushing their bit of the pizza slice and like brushing away. It was just so like petty and you know, and just like these kind of ancient and silly
not divine. Do you know, kind
so
of
undivined,
divine,
the opposite of divine, but fascinating. So that was like the absolute TKO.
What were the three?
So Lourdes, Rome, and Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So the three kind of holiest places or whatever. But yeah, so like, you know, I had my early 20s was doing that stuff, like, you know, and kind of thinking about these things. My friend Paulie, lovely guy, like really nice guy, but he does hilariously stupid things. Like there's people we used to fill, like, every time we go on holidays we fill up a copybook of like the silly shit he'd say. Like, I don't know, was this Paulie? I think this was Paulie. Do you know what a tuk-tuk is?
Is it a rickshaw?
Yeah. In Thailand, and came out of a place. Paulie, do you want to? We got a tuk-tuk. No, I'm not hungry, man. And this was the second time in Thailand. But
he's not just off the plane. That was first time. Like,
always, everybody has loads of stories like that. But we were in Israel, and we were going from like this. I think it was my first Christmas away, and ended up having. This is the thing about traveling. Christmas Day, there was like four of us, and we didn't really know each other that well. I knew Paulie well, but we had like burgers and chips on Christmas Day
nice.
In an Irish bar. And it was so grim. It was the only time when I was away when I was like, oh, I wish I was just at home. Turkey, you know.
Yeah, where's the stuffing and the cranberry sauce and you know, the wine and the whole lot.
So I think the next night, because of that, we all went got pissed in Tel Aviv. And Tel Aviv's like a real cosmopolitan city. It's class. Doesn't feel like a war zone at all. And that was brilliant. But then we had to come back to Jerusalem the next day, and we're getting a taxi. We had this taxi driver was real kind of a racist Israeli, like just
right.
just talking about we gave these people jobs and then they bombed us, and just talking like they were animals, kind of just and he wanted to stop and try and get it. He got us like to stop, and he got the girls to take pictures with the fucking Israeli soldiers and all this stuff, and I just had to bite my lip.
Yeah.
And Paulie just didn't really know much about the situation going in, and like I'd read a bit about it, so I was kind of telling him about the different factions and stuff. But we were like driving along, and this guy's just ranting, and Paulie's hungover as the fuck, and he just goes, and he's in the front and I'm in the back, and he's like, why don't you just give it back?
That good out.
Oh, he wanted to stop and kick us out of the car. Like,
yeah.
First of all, he was like, give what back? Israel. He's like, you are ignorant. You shouldn't be in my car and all this stuff. And like it was so tense, and I was like, no, that's not what he meant.
Cultural differences. Yeah.
And then it was like stony silence. Maybe put on the radio
before he says something else.
Yeah, and we got there, and he wanted to kick us out way earlier than he should have, and he wouldn't drive into the Arab. Like, it's the Arab section, and like that was the thing. Like our hostel, like backpackers, just the cheapest one, but it was in the Arab quarter, right. And it's like this propaganda thing where it's like the Arab quarter, it's real dirty and overcrowded, whereas the rest of Jerusalem is immaculately clean. But it's just so the Israelis can drive by, go, look how they live.
Yeah, of course.
They're filthy, they're animals. It's real, that left a real bitter taste in my mouth. But then it was such a head fuck. It was like meeting Israelis and like really nice people, and kind of like it is this tiny country, like, and there's a like should they have it? Like, should they not? Do they not have a right to have it? But then you see how it's enforced, and the walls, and also like this whole thing of like settling Israelis in Arab land. When you drive from the border into Jerusalem, like it's just miles and miles of land, of desert land. Like if they needed land, that's not a problem. You could build whole towns there. That's not what that resettlement is about. It's about fucking, this is the right to our land, to that particular land. It's a real head fuck of a place. But yeah, like coming back to Ireland from there, 24, having done that, and coming back into, I remember kind of coming back into still recession Ireland, and like almost being embarrassed by how much I'd seen, things that come up. So this is like the time I went canyoning in the Himalayas.
You'd have to kind of stop yourself.
Yeah. Or when stuff like Israeli stuff comes up. Well, when I was there,
during my time in Jerusalem.
Yeah. It was just because when I came back, it was kind of 2011, 2012, and it was grim. It was a real grim time.
Oh yeah, that would have been the depths of it.
Yeah. Because I left in 2009, and it was just kind of kicking off. And that was when I just finished college. It was like, when I was in school, it was like, what do you want to do? Filmmaker. I had, great, go follow your dreams.
Yeah, of course.
And then
5 minutes later,
like, go back, do science, do engineering. So just finished at a bad time. So Dubai, like my friend Paddy was out there, and I was just seeing actually on Facebook, seeing his life. I was like, I'll have a bit of that, because there was nothing happening here. And when I came back, I wasn't sure if I was kind of thinking I could stay out there for another year or two. It was real tempting. Like, the lifestyle was so good. Like,
in where? Sorry, Dubai.
In Dubai. Yeah. In Dubai itself, even the lifestyle. Like, like I never drank so much in my life. It's a real hedonistic culture.
Yeah.
All these young Irish people out there and all different expats having a ball. But then the flip side of that was like very, very racist state, like all the locals. So it's built to serve the locals. Every local is pretty much kind of looked after, but they're all very like, or a lot of them, or you know, the very like the way they treat foreign workers and that.
Yeah.
Like just, I don't think I could just justify living there now. Do you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But at the time it was brilliant. But yeah, coming back it was hard. But I think I was back a few months and I was still thinking about going back. But I think I made a film on my own, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this is what
this is why I want to do it. Yeah.
And kind of from since then, I've kind of been on that path. You know, because when I was 14 or 15, somebody asked. I just remember somebody asking me, "What do you want to do?" And it was like a light went off in my head. It was like a filmmaker. And from then, I always had, like, I was lucky that people. I always thought that I was very lucky that I always knew what I wanted. Because still meet people and they still don't know what they want, or
yeah,
you know, and the shit that they end up doing that they never wanted to do. Whereas I've always had that. And Dubai was great to go and take a break, and because I could still be there having a great life, sipping cocktails by the pool, like, you know, on a very normal wage. You can have this really stupidly extravagant lifestyle out there. That's
and presumably, like, there's no law against making movies or documentaries or whatever it is in Dubai, like.
No, and I was kind of looking. That's what I was kind of looking into, but it was quite hard because you kind of need Arabic, and yeah, I kind of wasn't too well set up for it. Maybe if I was out there now, it would be a bit, but I kind of wasn't really in the right place to kind of pursue it. But I don't think I'd really be able to make the kind of films that would really interest me. Like, I'm happy to be here in Ireland, and like, you know, stories like that. I think the stories I want to tell are here, you know, or are coming from an Irishness, you know. So, so I'm happy to be back here. But it's been, you know, it's been tough. Like, coming back to, like, living with my parents when I got back first from Dubai.
Fuck.
That was hard.
I moved home there towards the end of last year for 3 months with herself and the little man while we were doing up the house, because, like, if the house was just completely wrecked.
I didn't realise that. Yeah.
Even that, like, 3 months was just fucking absolute torture. And my mum's 100%. Like, the best in the world.
Totally. I think it's like some sort of a. It's an instinctive thing, or it's in your DNA, that it forces you out because you're supposed to be out. And it's
well, you would have done that. I know I did an extreme version of that. I think by most people's standards. Like, I moved out when I was 15, but you would have went to college and you flew the nest, and when you came home, it was hard being at home. Yeah, and you mentioned there's this kind of instinctual. Yeah. Like, not repulsion, but just something that's repulsion is the wrong word, but
I don't know what it is, but it's a push. It's something in the back of you that's kicking you out.
Yeah, and I think we're losing that. Or I think a lot, like, this idea of, like, living at home and you 30 isn't fucking unheard of by any stretch of the imagination.
Not at all. Very common in Dublin. Like,
and what's that? The price of rent, is it? Or
yeah. Like, if you look at my cousins, like, they all go through college, and they say, like, they're all, you know, the oldest is 22, 23, and still at home, and will be for a while, and that's very normal. And, like, dubs can be quite innocent, because you have the idea of the kind of the slick dub or whatever, or, you know, they buy and sell you, but a lot of them are, like, a lot of the ones I encounter haven't been out of Dublin much, aren't really wise to the world, living at home. A lot of those, like, I wouldn't be that close friends with many dubs. Most of my friends would be from all parts of the country or the world, you know what I mean? But, there's definitely, I definitely see a divide. Like, there's a big difference between dubs and the whole rest of the country, I think.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're far wrong there at all.
It's much more normal for them to still be living at home at our age, and being, like, I know people there's a couple who they're married and they're living at home.
Jesus Christ,
that's not right. That's not the natural
No, fuck that. Like, I think your job as a parent is to equip your kids to leave home as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Out the fucking door as soon as possible. And if you're still doing your kids' fucking laundry and, you know, cooking them dinners deep into their 30s or into their 20s, say, you're robbing them of their own life.
Yeah. I always had this thing. Do you ever notice this thing in Navan, especially? Maybe it's everywhere or small towns, but this idea of kind of mothers and daughters being like that, like good friends, you know, bosom buddies, going shopping with it, but like not in a kind of, you know, normal healthy way. It was like people think we're sense-stars. You know, but you know what I mean? But like kind of a smothering kind of way. Did you ever pick up on that? Or maybe
I know exactly what you're talking about. Put it that way. No, absolutely, and not even just with women.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I actually saw the opposite in Dave and Catherine there recently, which I thought was great. Ruth was telling me that your mum, her nose is a bit out of joint over two things. That Dave and Catherine weren't going to have me and my sister's kid, weren't going to have summer in what they were baptised in and what maybe you were baptised in.
Oh, right.
Apparently she was a bit out of joint or disjointed about that.
Yeah.
And there was another thing about something about the cake. She wanted to make the cake and they didn't want that either.
Okay.
But the story that I was told was your mum was basically pissed off because they didn't do what they want. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. And she was like, what do you mean that's brilliant? And I was like, it's rare that I hear that. Right. It's usually, fuck's sake, I have to put my kid into this because my mum wants it.
Yeah.
We have to have this cake that we don't want because my mum wants it. And I was like, fair play to fucking Catherine and Dave, because it's far too common that the mother still has a hold over them. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
As supposed adults, like.
Yeah.
Like, cut the fucking cord.
Totally, like. And my mother generally wouldn't be that like that. Kind of
no, God, no, not at all. Not at all.
I totally know what you mean. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or this idea of, you know, we didn't, I suppose I'm a bit further on than you, say, with, you know, family of kid and fucking whatever else. So I'm in that loop a little bit more. But, you know, neither of us wanted to get my kid christened, but, you know, our parents did. Like, are you fucking serious? And shit like that.
I don't buy a lot of that. I think a lot
it's
of
an excuse, is it?
They actually, I think it's what they know. And they're kind of like, I think the whole school thing was a bit of the whole thing about, you know, there was a bit of an uproar about the whole baptism and schools thing. I think that was a bit of a storm in a teacup kind of thing as well, because it's actually, I know, I understand the agreements with it, that it is an issue at all, that being baptized is an advantage, but when you actually look at it in reality, it's actually not. It's really low on the priorities. Like,
it's not.
It's
fucking not.
It's third after, like, the two big things are proximity to the school and then.
Well, proximity to the school is kind of null and void, because you're not going to want to put your kid into a school that's too far away from you anyway. Like, do you know that kind of way? Like, logistically, you're going to have to be relatively close.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe we're on two different wavelengths here.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, you go on. Maybe I'm picking you up wrong.
Yeah, and then the second thing is school, the relatives in the school, and then third is whether they've been baptized or not. But like, I like when I see schools, it's like the Catholic schools are the most diverse in terms of religion, and that, like, you know, like I as far as I can tell from talking to parents, it doesn't seem to be as big a deal.
Well, I know Calum. Again, I won't say any more names. Put this way, I know a friend of mine wouldn't have gotten his kid into Lismullen, where my mum thought only my mum got him in because he's not Catholic.
Right. Oh, okay.
And they're, I think the kid is a Jehovah's Witness, which is a form of Christianity.
Oh, right. Isn't it? Yeah.
So it's not that, you know, they were completely different. Now maybe that's worse. Maybe being a different, maybe you're better off being a Muslim than being a different version of Christianity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Again, maybe I just got it wrong, but it just, maybe there's a lot more examples of that I didn't know about.
Well, aside from getting your kid into the school, a grievance that people would have is that they don't want their kid being taught religion in the school. Do you know that kind of way?
Fair, yeah. No, I was kind of picking up on the thing that it seemed like a lot of people are getting their kids baptized, and maybe they're using the whole school thing as a reason.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Here's a term for you. I was on jury duty there not that long ago,
right.
and
you actually had to do it.
No, I was in court every day for fucking 5 days for 3 or 4 hours, but I was never called to be up in the jury. But I must have saw about 100 people get sworn in.
Right.
Every single one of them put their hand on the Bible and swore to God that they weren't going to tell the truth. And I'm like, this is 100 people, and the way a jury is picked, or the way the pool of people for a jury, it's all walks of life. It's everyone and anyone. You know, that kind of way. It's as diverse as they can make it. And to get 100 people who are all devout Catholics is just nonsensical. Like. So you're starting off court proceedings with a big fat juicy lie, basically. And I kind of said it to the girl that I was sitting beside. I was like, listen, I don't know about you, but I'm not fucking swearing in any fucking Bible if I'm called up. And she was like, I'm the fucking same. And that kicked off the conversation. But the term she used was her kids were compulsory Catholics.
Right.
That's what she called them. Because of this idea of
and it does feel like that. It's like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, you're the only one who's sane in this world of like people who are mad. It's like Dylan Moran used to say, like, talking about I got him. It's like, all these presidents, like important people saying, when I'm making an important decision, I talk to God. Oh, you lost him.
You didn't get him again, did you?
I'm pretty good at getting him. I don't know where he went. Daddy long legs. His thing was like, presidents, the most powerful people in the world saying, when I make an important decision, I talk to God. It's like saying, I talk to my imaginary friend.
But fucking scary.
Like. That's the normal, like, we're the odd ones. That's the thing. We're the
less and less, I think. There was a recent survey done in the UK. It could have been a couple of tens of thousands of people.
Right.
And I think it was the first time ever that white Christians weren't in the majority.
Yeah.
No, I don't think. Was it they weren't in the majority? Or was it just the nuns? I think the nuns were the biggest group. Like the no religion, like nun.
Yeah.
That group was bigger than all the other ones.
The nuns.
What? But it's mad, like. But I think we're certainly becoming more and more secular, and with good reason. And it's about fucking time.
Yeah, it's mad to sing this song. I better kind of wrap up.
Yeah, no bother at all.
But really enjoyed that.
Yeah, brilliant. No, we'll definitely do it again. 100%.
Yeah. Put a pin in it.